Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Pourquoi t'as mis un papier sous le sopalin, sous le truc, hein? C'était grave.
So, I've had several requests to have a bag day class. One day of hitting the bag, whether that be, doing small sandsow strikes on the bag or just general punching the bag and things like that. We're going to make one day a week, one class a week, a bag day class. And my current thoughts, it's not for today because I haven't pre-read, but starting next week, it should be this Monday morning class. We think that'll be a few people I've been talking to. We think that'll be the best day because it's a later start. So a lot of people might live in apartments or something, and they don't want to be punching bags at 6 a.m. in the morning and waking other people up. So yeah, potentially as of next week, the Monday morning class will be a bag work class. And as I say, we won't just do general, normal, simple boxing type bag work. We will also have a look into the small sensor strikes, so you can really learn properly how the movement comes out of those. Um, as well as potentially even some of the strikes in the form. Not all the strikes in the form can be done on a bag, but the ones which can be, we can say, okay, let's go through the Yang Lu Chan's form and see how, like, chi or lower chi and any of these strikes in the form to better understand how you're moving in your form with the feedback of the bag. Because remember, the bag is your best friend when you don't have a training partner, a regular training partner, to practice the applications to better understand the movements. So when you hit the bag, at least you're getting the striking elements. Of course, you're not getting the blocking elements, the feeling of that impact, for example, in the small sansao. But at least you're getting the idea of, oh, okay, yeah, okay, I can feel how the body has to move in order to generate that force. Then you go back to your solo form or even your very slow meditative form, but you can feel the charge through the body that has to happen in order to do those strikes. So that's something we're going to be having a look at on a weekly basis as of next week. So that should be fun. All right. Anyone got any questions before we start? No? Let's get into it then. We're switched on. Then we're on musicians mode and we are on the other camera. All right, we're good to go. All right, quick warm up. Just make sure we don't pull any upper back muscles. Okay. Opening out to the sides, squeezing your shoulder blades back, stretching your arms up, standing up onto the balls of your feet, looking up, chest up, reaching the stars, and down. Ah, it's so nice. It's actually daytime outside now, starting on the Monday morning. In breath, out breath. Now bring it up the front, in breath. Really feeling your back muscles squeezing, feeling your scapula pull into the ribs. Working those stabilization muscles down through your scapula. Having a stable scapula is one of the most important things in your upper body. When they're loose and floppy, running around all over the place, that's when you injure your shoulder. But at the same time, we don't want them to be rigidly stiff and then you can't move your arm either. Okay. Keeping your pelvis tucked under, keeping your body in a vertical position. Bring your hands up and pull your hands back, elbows back, hands back together. So not this, okay? Pull your hands back at the same time. So your elbows and palms are hitting the wall behind you basically at the same time, like so. You're squeezing it back. You're trying to push this movement. You're trying to push your hand back as far as it will go, like so. So not just being lazy, but squeezing it back and down, so the shoulders are staying down into the movement. And I'm not arching the spine at this point. I'm keeping my spine tucked and squeezed in at the front. Then I'm going to drop it down and relax. That's when the shoulders relax back to neutral. Bring it up, pull it in. That's your in breath. Then your out breath as you lower your hands, keeping your shoulders back. And then relax to the front. In breath, out breath. In breath, out breath. You might notice on the in-breath, the weight rocks into the balls of the feet, then back to the heels on the out-breath. Let's get into a bit of a rhythm, a little quicker. Particularly this part. Do it fast and then squeeze slow and then fast. So there's more time where the muscles are being engaged strongly. So quick upward movement. And then a slow backward and downward movement. That should really fire up all those muscles in the back of your shoulders. If you have any sort of niggles in your shoulders, like, yep, I can move my arm freely now. I've got a bit of a problem in my left shoulder at the moment, and first thing in the morning, I lift my arm up. It's like, it's a bit pinchy, but doing that one, bringing some heat through, bringing some blood through the movements. Now my arm is completely mobile. I don't feel any sort of pinching anywhere or anything like that. So yeah, just one of the most important things is just throw some blood at your injury. Blood fixes stuff. Okay, open and close. Opening up, breathing out, closing. The whole spinal movement now. So sticking your bum out, pulling your chest up, pushing your chest up, pulling your shoulders back. So the hands are doing a similar movement to what we were just doing in terms of the backward movement. But this time we are arching the spine, looking up, chest forward, bum out, and then curling up into a ball on the out breath. In breath. Out breath. In breath. Out breath. In breath. Out breath. In breath. Out breath. Knees bent, of course. And just a wriggle into your lower spine. So stay in that closed up position and just wriggle and twist into your lower spine, up through the back of the hips here, just opening out all those little tight spots from the night. Legs into a lunge, lengthening through that back leg, sitting, squatting, just moving around with good structure. Keep your knees in alignment so they're strong. Rear foot's lifting and pressing the heel. Closing and opening. Switch sides, same thing. Lengthening through that back leg. Pressing and lifting that heel, getting the ankle moving. Opening up the hips, dropping the legs down, ups and downs and forwards and backwards. Whatever you feel like, just move around. Get that heat coming through your legs. What are you doing, Clara? Oh, I see. Okay, let's just finish off with a simple squat. Let's practice our squatting, okay? If you can't squat, grab yourself something to put under your heels. Sink down. Lean. If you find it, obviously you should be able to just squat down. That's the goal, right? But if you can't, then lean forward. It'll help stop you from falling backwards. Lean as far forward as you can, bending the knees. And then if you need something, maybe grab hold of something. Just, grab a bit of the wall or something like that. And then see if you can get your bum all the way down until your bum just sits down onto your ankles. I must do a whole class on squatting at some point. More of a YouTube lesson for everyone. Make sure everyone sees it, because as I always say, squatting is one of the most fundamentally important human movements. Much more important than any of your postures in your Taiji form. Just simply squatting is the most important thing you can do. It's not deemed as important in the Taiji world because it's assumed you can squat. It's just a natural thing you should be able to do. So you don't see a lot of squatting. You do see some in the Qigongs, but yeah, if you can't squat, your body's extremely out of shape. You've got to be able to squat. Imagine trying to go to the toilet when you're out in the bush and you can't squat. What are you going to do? Stand, have it hit the floor and splatter on your feet? That's no good. Got to squat. It's a lovely way of just lining up and resetting the body. Okay, standing up. If you want, you can lean forward and stick your bum out, as in this kind of thing. That's a little bit easier to get up like that because, again, it'll stop you falling backwards. Or if you can, just try to push your head straight upwards and out of the squat. Okay, let's get into some Taiji stuff. We're going to do the Yang Luchan's form. We're just going to do it. It's morning time. I feel like being a bit vibrant today, so we're going to do it with a large feel, not too quick, because most people following find it a bit difficult to follow when it's going a bit too fast, especially on a video type of a lesson. So it tends to work better with a slower pace, but just normal pace, not super slow, just normal pace. Okay, but I want you to think big thoughts. I want you to do the movements as large as you can without breaking the principles of each movement, of course. And I want you to really focus on posture. That is chest and head alignment, as well as lower back. So I'll call out a few specific principles as we're going through, ones you might not be aware of, as we go through this round of the form. So I'll just say, like, oh, on this posture, be careful, you don't lean over here, like stay straight. Essentially, it's always stay straight, but there's certain postures in the form which most people are more inclined to accidentally lean over in this or that movement. So I'll call those out, and so you can sort of think, oh, okay, I'll check, make sure that I'm not leaning back on this move or leaning forwards or, you know, sticking my bum out or anything like that. Okay, let's do it. Just do it once through. It's Monday morning, so we're going to do it right side today. Okay, large thoughts. Here we go. In breath. So obviously these first movements are pretty simple, and just keep a nice upright body. All right, when we come down into this first movement, there is a slight forward compression. Don't make it a leaning forward though. But when we come into the step, vertical. Everything becomes completely upright. For pung also, nice and upright. Double pung. Here when we come through, again, don't lean over. Tuck your pelvis, especially as you're stepping. Keep your pelvis tucked in, up, up, up. Touch the heel, then roll forward. And again, nice and vertical. As we drop down, keep your eyes forward. Don't follow your hands down with your eyes or your head. Large sweeping actions through the body. Big in breath, open up your chest. And out breath as you sit back. In breath coming up, out breath coming down. Sit back ready. Fishes in 8. Nice vertical position. Okay, single whip. The main thing here is think about tucking that pelvis to lift that foot. So really engage your lower core. Tuck it, keep it tucked. When you lift your hand, don't lean backwards. When you place your foot, do not lean forwards. Keep your body upright. And as you come forward, open your center. Do not lean forwards. Your spine is vertical. Now, open it up. Pull it in. Large movements. Hold that in breath and lift hands. Don't lean backwards. Keep your hips in, pelvis tucked, and sink down. The shoulder, when we come all of this section of the shoulder, stay in a vertical placement of the body. You do not lean forward when you do shoulder press. Brushing your twist step, tuck that pelvis. Keep your pelvis tucked as you place your heel. Tuck it, tuck it, tuck it, hold it up, hold it up. And then your body relaxes as you come forward. Roll that rear foot up. Here, be careful that you don't lean backwards. Of course, don't do the opposite and lean forwards, but it's more common to lean backwards on this one. Again, tuck that pelvis up. Keep it tucked and move forward. The pelvis here will tilt down a little bit because it's such a long stance, which loads your pelvis back. So your pelvis is actually a little bit downwardly tilted. Now when you lift your knee, you'll get even more of an upward tilt as that knee comes up. But then hold on to that upward tilt as you place your foot down and then relax into the front. So same thing again here. As I turn out, the pelvis will slightly rotate down, preparing, loading your body, and then squeeze it under. Hold it under. Make sure you're reaching that leg out and sinking down. Don't place for a short stance. And relax. Rolling that foot. Again, make sure to stay straight when you do this movement. Prepare yourself for the punch. Okay, let's have a talk about a couple of things and then drill them out. Pelvis, your pelvis. This kind of thing is something which is not really, I don't know if I'd class it as an advanced principle, but it is something extra that we don't usually speak about to beginners, only because we don't want them having too many things to think about, you know. We will always say, like, tuck the pelvis when you lift the leg. That's a must. You cannot lift the leg with your bum stuck out. But what about the little reloadings of the pelvis before you tuck it up? Okay, you've got to neutralize something before it can fire. It's got to claim up, boom, before it can kick up. So let's have a look at brush knee twist step for a moment. I'll give you a couple of ideas, and then we'll drill the whole sequence and see if you can feel these things happening. Let's have a look. Oh, I guess we may as well do the first one as well. So the first one, there's not too much going on. You're coming back to here. Obviously the pelvis is tucked there because you're striking, yeah? Now with this one, this movement of your leg is not a knee strike. There's no power in this first movement. It's about, the main thing to think about here is just where the intent is with each movement. If you think about where the intent is, your body should at some point start to do the right thing, especially if you've practiced those moves, as I say, with a bag, if you've practiced what's happening with that knee, your body will understand what it needs to do when you're doing the slow form, okay? So, the pelvis is tucked under. When I lift that leg up, you see, from there, there's no knee strike. It's just a checking. Someone's trying to kick me, and I'm just checking the leg, and then attacking, okay? So don't think about it as boom, like a power shot. However, there is still this element of squeeze, relax, squeeze in the pelvis, okay? So in the same way that if you have a yang hand, you can go yang, and it has to kind of relax before it does another yang movement. Now with the hand, it's a little bit more easy to understand for a beginner, and so it's always taught to beginners to go 1, reload, 2, because changing back to a full yin even, or at least back to a neutral, like a more obviously visual change in the wrist, you're not causing any problems if you do it a little larger. Whereas with the pelvis, if I go, what angle can you see my pelvis best? I go here, yeah, you can see my pelvis movement. If I go here and I go tuck, and then I go, it just looks silly, doesn't it? And I'm just completely breaking all of my postural structure to stick my bum out that far, to load it and prepare it to lift that leg up. It's not right to do that. Some movements you can do large and small. They work on any framed size. The principles still work of that posture. Some movements cannot. I don't think off the top of my head there are any movements which can only be done large. I think anything that can be done large can be done small. But some things can be done small which cannot be done large. So that means when I tuck my pelvis here, when I, just there, there's that squeeze, you see, as I deliver that strike. Then there's just a little, you see, it's like that tension, that squeezing tension from here just relaxes. In no way do I actively squeeze to pull the bum back. There's no active load. It is simply squeezing from, I'm exaggerating this a bit now, but squeezing from the front and then going, just relax your body back to loose, neutral, and then squeeze again. So it's relax, squeeze, relax, squeeze. It is not squeeze, 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 like we do in our little, spinal warm-up, for example. So we do not want to do an active squeeze on the back. The only time we do an active squeeze on the back of the body is when we're doing backward movements, such as kicking backwards, stepping backwards, anything involving the leg out to the rear. That is where there'll be an active squeeze at the rear. Okay, so that very first move then, from here, you're going to feel your pelvis squeeze in there as I deliver that strike. And in the same way that the hands kind of strike and then, see, the whole body settles. You go, you're not going strike and then, you're not doing something on the recoil of the strike. Think about it as activate, do something, pull on something, poke something, tuck something. You're activating the movements. And then just, what's going on? Shana bro. And then you're activating again on the next move. So the whole form becomes this pulsing movement of this kind of thing, getting in there and relaxing back, getting in there and relaxing back, this kind of thing. Now, of course, sometimes you might get in there and the relaxing back will be directly into another movement. Just depends on what posture you're doing. So, let's have a look at that. Squeeze. relax. Now we're going to tuck the pelvis again as we lift into the first movement. So there's your first squeeze. You'll feel it all up through here, not just the pelvis tucking part, but also the leg lifting. So you'll feel the squeeze up through the side of the body, because of course when the leg first lifts, it's on the side of your body. As your body comes closer to it, that feeling of this part activating will slowly rotate and come more into the front, because of course as your hips turn into that movement, you're using different muscles to hold up that leg. And that's where I touch the leg there. So in, there's my tuck. But no, do not let go of the tuck here. You hold on to that tuck until your foot is on the ground. So we don't want to drop the foot like that by pushing the pelvis back. I want to drop the foot just using the hip joint. You see, the hip joint is what lowers the leg. You keep that tuck on, place the foot. Then at this moment, there's a little, just there, just in the, it's a fraction of a transition. Just as you place the foot on the ground, your pelvis just goes, I get a little relief, and then whoom, obviously tucks back up, because I'm going to do that second strike. It can't just stay in a dead tucked position. That's not yin and yang. Okay? So, tucking it up. Hold on to that tuck as you place your foot, and then just as you start to, there, the body's just going, a little moment of relief, and then squeezing back in, into that next movement. I'm just going to cover the brush knee twist step bits for now. Obviously, there's all sorts of tucking and stuff going on with these interim moves, but I don't want to make it too confusing, give you too much information right from the beginning. So we'll just carry on to the next brush knee twist step. So the same sort of thing happens here. Here, I'm tucked, you see, because I'm delivering a strike there, you see. So I'm going to be squeezed under. Pulling down. But just as I pull the arm into the hold the ball, when you're visually, I assume you know the application, you've struck him in the neck, you're grabbing his shoulder, and then you're going to pull his head down and knee him in the chest. So from here, I'm tucked under, and then just here, there's a little bit of a downward compression, a frontal compression on the body. The pelvis is relaxing just a little bit, and then I'm going to lift that up into my posture. Now there's something even extra here on this one, and this is the difference. I think I've mentioned this before. In fact, I think it was our very first class this month, so I'm just recapping over that as well as this pelvis thing. We want to make sure the timing difference of this one, because it's going to be down, up, you see? Because the leg has to come vertically up, we've got to get some power for it somewhere, okay? When it's coming from the back leg, it's just warm, it's just sweeping through. It's easy to get power in that movement. But when it's right here in front of us and it's coming in a vertical line, we need to kind of charge the body back, you see? The hips actually push backwards. Not the pelvis, not just the pelvis doing this, it's this. But don't do it like that. This is why beginners aren't usually shown these principles, because they might overdo them, you see? So, as I say, with these kind of classes, these general training classes, sometimes I'm chucking out stuff there that might be more for a more advanced practitioner, and then other stuff might be more dedicated to the beginners. So just be careful, because it's a live class and I can't necessarily see you, not until I get my big TV. Just be mindful of what you're learning, and I'm always making sure you know that some things are not designed if you're a stark beginner. So if you know the form well, you think, I'm feeling very confident and strong in the form, and maybe you can think, Eli told me my first third is like good, it's solid, there's not really many mistakes in there, so probably I'm okay with this. Whereas if your first third is like you've just learnt it and there's still loads and loads of errors in it, then maybe have a look at this, have an idea, so that you have inspiration as to what's coming next in your training. Like, oh, that looks really interesting. I'll look forward to when I'm ready for that particular bit in the form. But be aware that sometimes you might not want to be doing it right now. So, there's that little forward weight shift. Now as I hook the elbow down, see there's a forward compression of the body, pulling that down. I've got to pull his head down first, then tuck that up, you see? Hold the tuck, place the heel, drive it forward. Now this is the one, this is a nice one because it's very obvious, and this one this is always taught even to beginners. When you're in the longbow stance, when you push out into the longer, not longer, but more forward, see, the average human, the average, flexible, mobile, good mobility, who's practicing and fit with their body, you should be able to take something of a bow stance size, about 70% forward, hips to the front, pelvis tucked under. You should have enough mobility in your joints to make that happen with a flat lower back, okay? Like so. If you go past that point, which is what I'm going to do next, I'm going to turn that foot out and lengthen through the back because my weight's going more forward. It means I'm lengthening further away from my back leg. So my leg is already maxed out. It won't stretch. My leg won't bend backwards any more than what it is in this position. So when I push out into this posture, it's very subtle. So with a jumper on like this, you probably can't even notice it. But I can feel just an ever so slight curve in my lower spine. And that should be there. Because you're lengthening so far, you'll feel your pelvis very slightly tilt down. But that does not mean that you're trying to make that happen. You're not actively sticking your bum out, okay? You're squeezed in, and then there's that little moment of relief. Now on this posture, when I turn out, I am still going to squeeze the pelvis under. But see, tucking the pelvis does not mean have a flat lower back. The flat lower back is simply a byproduct of tucking the pelvis when you're in a position that the lower back can flatten out. So if I'm in a bow stance and I think tuck the pelvis, I'll have a flat lower back. If I was standing like this as an example, and I thought tuck the lower back, in a front stance, I cannot flatten my lower back in this stance. My rear leg simply will not let it happen. But that doesn't mean it's not engaged. It's still trying to go in that direction because it has to be, because I'm delivering force forwards. If you're delivering force forwards, your pelvis has to be squeezed and tucked in. Okay? So as you tuck for the second time here, so we've tucked in, and then just relax your body. That's enough. Just think relax. That'll untuck you. And then think, tuck in again. Now I'm tucking the pelvis, even though it's still rotating backwards because of the positioning of my rear leg in that position. And now, just as the heel rolls up, there's that little moment of relax in the pelvis. And then, of course, it's nicely loaded back. The leg is at the rear, and then I fully tuck the pelvis under. Boom, boom, as I come through for that second knee strike. And again, keep it tucked, place the heel, and come forward. Same thing again. Strike it out. You'll feel that stretch in the back leg. You'll feel your pelvis rotate down, even though you're still squeezing. Then there's a little moment of softness, and then squeeze the pelvis under. Boom. Tucking it right under to lift that leg up. Place it down and bow. So, armed with that information, let's just drill brush knee twist step all the way through, and then all the way through on the other side. See how we go with that. Right, let's do the same side we were just doing. So let's start from here. Okay, here we go. Tucking in. Hold on to the tuck. Place the leg. Keep it tuck, 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 and a little moment of relax before you then squeeze in and tuck into the posture. I'm not going to talk about stuff with these postures. We didn't go over these, so just move naturally. Now, tuck the pelvis here. And there's a little moment of relief, and then tuck it as you lift it up. Keep it tucked, keep it tucked, keep it tucked, keep it tucked. Keep your center open, and then come forward. Turning to the front. Here's the long version. Lengthen the leg out. You will downwardly tilt the pelvis, but it's still tucked. Then there's a little moment of relief, and then tuck. Keep it tuck, 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 tuck. Keep your center open. Drop the heel, and just here, just in the first like 1% of the weight shift, there's a little relief moment as the weight pushes forward, so the pelvis relaxes, and then everything squeezes in. Same again on the other side. Okay, one last thing I'll tell you before we do it on the other side. The relaxation of the pelvis. So we've talked about tucking it and then kind of just softening and then re-tucking like we did particularly with this first move. A little relax and then into the next move. Now, how much do you relax? I would say you never kind of turn the muscles off completely. They never totally relax, but sometimes they relax more than other times. And that depends on how much of a separation there is between that movement and that movement. Are they two completely different movements? Or is it a transition halfway between one movement? You see? So, I'll take two examples to give you. This first one is a good one. This is, bah! There's something happening there. I can do that movement and it feels perfectly fine to go, wow. Settle. Right, what's the next move? Okay, this is the next move. Now, I'm not saying you should stop there, but you see there's a good separation between those two moves. See, I can do a large separation there and it works because they are two completely different actions in the body. Whereas, for example, when we step into brush knee twist step, let's say we're tucked up, we're still tucked up. Now here, okay, I was tucked until I hit the floor. Now I told you there's that little relaxation before this strike. But in this case, what's happening here? I've gone bang, I've put the foot down, it's still the same move. It does not feel right to come here, go bah. Okay, right, what's the next move? I've already made a mistake because there is no next move. I haven't finished the current movement that I'm on. Therefore, that little moment of relaxation that I'm talking about is sort of like going from 100% down to 80 and then back to 100, rather than going all the way back to 20. As I say, even this one, I don't switch off completely, but it could go down further. Now, these percentages I'm talking about are something you just have to learn to feel what's right in the movement. I'm just giving some sort of rough ideas of numbers. But yeah, what I'm feeling in my body is here, I can do a 20%, down to 20%, and then whoa, all the way back up to 90, for example. Whereas here, if I do the same thing, now that just feels crap, because it's one movement. So I've got to go full tuck, and then just like a 10 to 20% release, and then back in. So it's a very subtle release of that tension and then back into that tension straight away. So, like I was saying with small and large things, some can be exaggerated, some can't. This principle is no different. That posture there, you cannot exaggerate the relaxation part like we did with that previous move, because we're halfway, we have not finished the posture yet. If, however, we're doing a movement where it's a posture and a clean cut into the next posture, we can do it large, and into the next one. That still feels very nice. That's sort of what will happen maybe if you're doing it a little slower with a little bit less yang energy. However, that version can always be done small as well. So a large one can be done small, but a small one cannot be done large. That's an important principle to remember. So let's say I'm going through the form a little bit quicker, a little bit more yang, and I'm connecting the movements a little bit more like this than like this. So maybe I'm going you see? So the whole form now is bouncing one movement into the next. And these are just flavors that you'll learn to understand through practice and through understanding of the fighting sections. Let's try that again. And as we do the left side, let's think about that. So just let me remind you, the first one can be sort of like a bit more of an obvious relax to then tuck. Whereas here, very subtle relax and then tuck. These ones we're not worrying about for now. This one here, I think all the rest of them are subtle ones actually, off the top of my head. Yeah, it's only the first one because all the other postures, they're in the one movement. So it's just the very first one to sort of give you the idea. That's a good way of thinking about it. The first one's easier, like, okay, tuck, relax, and tuck. Okay, I get that, I understand that. Brush the knee, place the foot. Now I'm going to do the same thing, just smaller. You see? It's the same thing, but just less on that movement. Don't ever let your tuck become a turn, or rather sorry, that was the wrong way to say it. Don't ever let your relax of the tuck become a turn. Be very careful of that because it is the most annoying mistake that I see is people placing down for brush knee twist step and then going, whoa, boom. The most annoying mistake you can ever make to a teacher is the one he's told you not to do 100 times. If you come up with a new mistake, I'm like, yes, excellent. Thank you for coming up with a new mistake. That's how to impress your teacher. Make mistakes he's never seen before. Okay? So, when I untuck or relax, there I'm tucked. When I relax, see, look, I'm going to exaggerate it a little bit just so you can see. As I relax the pelvis, relax this core squeeze, you see, I'm coming forward, I'm twisting forward. There is no component of that. I'm not relaxing the waist back the other way, okay? So just be careful of that. Right, let's try that whole thing on the reverse side. From here. Here we go. Oh, sorry, let's do that movement actually so we get so let's go from spread the weave here so we get that transition. Here we go. Tuck it in. Relax it. Tuck it in. Keep it tucked. Place the heel. Very light. And then retuck. Flow through the next movements. Here we go. Tucking in here, and then the lightest little 20% release before tucking it under again and lifting that up. Tuck, 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 tuck. Hold onto the tuck. Place the heel, tiny, and then squeeze again. Here come the long ones. Open it out. You'll feel that pelvis rotate down. Little release, and then squeeze it up. Place the heel, maintaining your tuck. And again, once the heel touches, a little tiny reprise, and then squeeze it in again. Same thing on the other side. A good rule of thumb for anything extra, any of the decorations you're going to put onto your form. You've got your foundations, your walls, your floor, and your roof. Then you've got the decorations. They make it such a more pleasant place to live, but they don't function without the foundations. Okay? Foundations work on their own, so that's why they're more important to focus on and get them right. The other stuff tends to just come naturally, usually. Just by simply practicing the correct foundations, all the other stuff does come naturally. So much of the movement that I've learnt through my form has come through simply seeing it. It's important to see it. That's why quite often we do the form where I just do it without talking. And whenever I'm doing that, this is why it would be a very good idea if you really think, no, I want to go full out with these classes, and I'm pretty confident in saying, I mean, I've got 30, what am I up to now? About 35 people who have registered to stay on for the following months, and now after this free trial. So I'm pretty confident in saying that I'm going to be still doing these. I'm going to invest in a large screen TV so that I can actually keep my eye on what you're doing as we're practicing. Now, you don't have to get a huge big, 50-inch or something, but if you're working from a tiny laptop or something, maybe try to do it in your living room maybe and link it up to your TV or something like that, because simply having it a bit larger, you'll see these movements more obviously. Anyway, most of this stuff, if you get the foundations correct and then simply see somebody else at a higher level doing this stuff, because at the end of the day, that's how it was originally created, was through people just moving regularly, and then all of a sudden they've gone, oh, that was nice, some extra little thing was created today. Having said that, when we are shown these things, like I've just done now, these things can come quicker, But if they're shown too soon, and you try to get them too soon, you don't get them. You think you do. You're doing the movements, but they're all just being done physically, mechanically, consciously. We want them to become a natural movement of your body. So here's the good rule of thumb. If you're doing your basics, let's say I'm doing pung and I'm going, Yeah, it feels nice. Feels like a good posture. And then you're in a class somewhere with me or someone else, and the teacher says, okay, so on the end of that move, there's just a little open and a close of the center, little yin-yang change in the hands, little boom, little flutter. And they explain that in detail. If you then follow along with that class and you go, yes, oh, thank you for showing me that. It livens it up. It's so nice. If that's your sensation, if that's your response to what you were shown, you're ready to learn that. You're ready to learn that principle. Your body is ready for it. If, like these principles we've just been looking at, if your brain's going, so I've got to turn and then I've got to move forward, you're probably not ready for it. You've got to wait till that movement is so... It's like the movements... I feel like something more is supposed to happen there because the foundations are so centered in your own body, you're not having to think about them anymore, and they want to flourish. They want to naturally form into more. If that's your feeling, or maybe somewhere halfway, if you kind of feel, I'm not saying it has to be perfect, but if you kind of feel like, oh yeah, okay, yeah, I mean, it doesn't feel quite right yet, but I get the idea. I think I can get that. And it takes you a few times to get it. That's still okay. It doesn't have to be like instant euphoria. But yeah, if you're really just thinking, sorry, show me that again. What's the hand got to do? I've got to turn the hip here. Yeah, you're probably not ready for that movement. And this is where, being in person is different than a live stream, a video calling class. Because if you're here with me physically, I would literally just go around and say, oh, look, sorry, you're clearly not ready for what I've just shown. So I want you to stick to this and this and this principle. Whereas you over here, okay, you're clearly understanding that. You need to, okay, and I'll show you a bit more. So you individualize the movements. And I may be able to start doing a little bit of that once I get my bigger screen, because I can at least, as we're going through here, you'll notice quite often I'm not looking at the camera, I'm looking at my own screen. Even though I can't see you, I can see me. It's just a habit. I look at the screen to see what I'm doing. But instead, the screen will be here in front of me anyway, and I'll be looking, okay, yeah, he's leaning forward a little bit. What's she doing? She's doing that, okay. And then I can just call out names. I go, yo, John, you're leaning forward. Amber, you're leaning backwards. I'll just chuck out little tips like that as we're going through. So hopefully that will make these classes come alive that next step more. You've all been giving me such great feedback as far as enjoying the concept of the live class as opposed to, pre-recorded classes. And even those people who are following them recorded, you're still telling me you like it because the vibe of me teaching is still, I'm talking to people, I'm still here with you live. So it's like they're watching a workshop that was live rather than just me standing in front of my camera and only talking to my camera. So yeah, that will hopefully take it one step further. So as I say, if you can potentially, if it's possible, get yourself in a room where you've got a bigger screen, that will make it better for you. And I'm going to get a bigger screen, and that will make it better for me, which will make it better for you, so I can give you a bit more personal feedback as to what you're doing. All right. Any questions about that stuff?
Did not really have a question, but I had a very nice observation, I think, because I was always wondering what you were doing with your foot when you were lifting your leg up, because you're pointing your foot. And now for the first time, I actually felt what you're doing with that foot. So it's not necessarily like the tugging with the pelvis and the relaxation that helped me, but especially the, I don't know, the extra tuck, or I don't know, but I just felt the last time that we did it, I actually felt my foot doing the same thing that your foot is doing. So that's
nice.
Really nice.
Good. Yeah, I had a lot of those experiences when I was learning where either something would happen that you never even realized before, like what you've just done. Or sometimes Dad might explain a movement. He might show a movement. He might just do a movement. Not specifically like when I look at him do a posture, a flowing movement, I might go like, oh, that's nice. I wonder what it is he's doing that I'm not. But you can't figure it out from a physical sense. There's something more there, but I don't know what it is. And then, yeah, one day you're just doing your form. Sometimes that would happen whilst I'm doing it with him. Other times it would just happen purely from within myself. And I'd be doing the form and my body would go, and it's like I'd have an instant flashback. Boom, there's Dad right there doing the form. It just felt like what I saw. So yeah, that's really good if that's happening. It's showing that your body's, understanding things, and yeah, very nice.
Yes.
Anything else? No? All good? Fantastic. All right. So, in case anyone didn't get the email, I assume you all got the email, but Sunday mornings now are going to be second, third Yang Luchan focused. Not like the first third where we're going through from scratch. I'm not going to teach it from scratch move by move. It's just going to be a general thing. We'll just take movements from the second third, sort of like what we did today with brush knee twist step. I'll just go, right, here's some of the movements from second third, and we're going to flow through them. Sometimes we might just do the form. So more of a general training, but focused on the second third. It will vary a little bit in time because my Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursdays are when I'm generally always home and I don't have other schedules to worry about. Weekends, the Friday to the Monday, is when I have workshops and other commitments. So you will notice that Sunday class will vary slightly in time. The standard time will still remain the 8 o'clock because I like to have a little sleep in on the Sunday morning if possible. But like the next 2 weeks, I've got something on that Sunday. So instead of cancelling the class, I'll just do it an hour earlier. So we'll start at 7 a.m. My time. So yeah, just keep in mind, I mean, you should keep that in mind with all the classes anyway, but as you'll notice, whenever I send you the recording link, I always say, next class is this time, next class is this time. So I'll always remind you, and I'll specifically remind you if there's been a time change, like at the beginning of the week, like I've done now. So the next 2 Sundays will be 7 a.m. The one after that will probably be back to the 8 a.m. So yeah, and of course, if you've got any questions about class timings and what we're doing in the classes, always feel free to send me a message, email, WhatsApp, whatever you feel like. Thank you all very much for joining me, and I shall see you possibly tomorrow morning for some Bagua. So that's the next class. Tomorrow morning, 6 a.m., Bagua circular form. Good stuff, guys. See you later.
Bye-bye.
Bye, everybody.